Hello, everyone, and welcome to DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar, Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce, and your co-host for this afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are today. Please follow us on Twitter at DisrupTV Show. Send questions to Ray, myself, our distinguished guests using hashtag DisrupTV on Twitter. Today's our 50th show. We've interviewed about 130. Yeah, Ray, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
130 some odd business leaders, executives, media and analysts, personalities. And it's on behalf of Ray and I just want to thank everyone for watching us for 50 shows. It's my pleasure to introduce Ray Wang, best-selling author of Disrupting Digital Business, CEO, founder of Constellation Research, the most active futurist on Twitter. You can follow Ray at RWANG0. Welcome, Ray, to episode 50.
Woohoo! Episode 50, and I'm here with my co-host Vala Afshar, Chief Digital Evangelist, Salesforce, and also, if you guys don't know, the author of The Pursuit of Social Business Excellence, and also one of the top CIO, CMO influencers in the world. But more importantly, we have someone hanging out outside. What's he doing? He looks sunny and warm and happy. Who is this? Who do we got, Vala?
It is amazing. I'll tell you, when I used to go to conferences and Samir would walk in, I would see all the analysts, media, everybody hovering around him.
From here,
I'm talking the thought leader of thought leaders. But anyway, it's our pleasure to have Samir Patel, CEO of Kahuna, on our show. Samir and Kahuna is a company that focuses on helping modern marketeers and CMOs transform how they engage and sell to digital native consumers. Prior to Kahuna, Samir was general manager and senior vice president at SAP, where he led the team responsible for making SAP a leading provider of customer and employee collaboration solutions, serving over 35 million subscribers. Samir has keynoted over 50 industry and venture capital private equity events. I've been to some of those, sitting in the front row, tweeting and taking notes. He's been quoted in publications like New York Times, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, TechCrunch, Harvard Business Review, and more. He writes about leadership in high-performing enterprise on his blog, Pretzel Logic. He's a must follow on Twitter at Samir Patel, SAMEERPATEL. Welcome, Samir, to episode 50 of DisrupTV.
Thank you, man. That was extremely generous of you, and you guys are both everything that you guys said, right? You know, the people who need to be followed, the movers and shakers, and I can't wait to spend the next 15-20 minutes with you guys. So thank you.
Hey, no problem. This is great. And Samir, thanks for being an alumni of Constellation Research. But let's start with the big question, right? The Kahuna. What's going on? Tell us more about Kahuna, why you joined, and what it's all about. What's going on over there?
So, I think there's a couple of things. So one is Vala did a great job of just kind of setting up, we are exactly that B2C marketing automation provider to what I would call, the most modern brands out there, right? The Dollar Shave Clubs, Hotel Tonight. We got brands who are coming out of nowhere, digital first, digital natives, that are really sort of questioning everything about traditional customer engagement. And instead of putting old workflow email-centric technology in place, they're actually putting the consumer in the center of it, and they're designing all the processes around the consumer. So, with that in mind, I mean, Ray and I, you and Vala, we've known each other for a while. I think one of the, you asked me why I joined. One of the best things about working for a company like SAP is you have this amazing vantage point of seeing all different sectors of enterprise technology, because SAP is in every space, right? And if you look at certain areas where you felt like there was a gigantic difference in terms of how the end consumer expected someone to build and engage with you, and you look at how the technology was designed, there are only few areas where you naturally start to see a massive dichotomy in terms of where the consumer is, what their expectations are of how you work with them, and the technology that's in place. And in this case of marketing automation, Ray, you know this better than anybody. I mean, given what you've done for the last 10 years, the 90% of the world is using technology that was invented before MySpace.
What's MySpace again? Can you help me with that?
No, I mean that's actually true, right? And you think about it,
it's true,
easy, right? And the interesting thing to me about the space that Kahuna plays in is that we are right in the center of an intersection of two gigantic trends, if you will, right? On one hand, you have every one of us who are consumers. When you look at, I love to use the overused example of Uber, right? At no point from the point that you called for an Uber, sat in an Uber, got out of the Uber, paid your credit card bill, did you ever think that you were marketed to or sold to?
No, of course not. No.
Right?
But
You think you won. You think you won, and they're making billions doing it.
oh,
Right?
that's awesome.
So the point I'm making is that as a consumer, our expectations have started to change, whether we realize it or not. And our expectations of how brands work with us are wildly different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Right?
that
So that's
that intersection of mobile marketing messaging is just coming in together at the right time.
right.
So
Entirely, right? So I can, we can, if you, another example I love to use is that, when you look at the recommendations on Amazon.com, you may or may not buy, but you're pretty blown away as to how good they are in terms of, yeah, totally, like that is what I can want, right? So you've got this notion of where as consumers, we are subconsciously, the bar has been raised in terms of what we expect brands to know about us, right?
Absolutely.
That's one trend number one. Trend number two, right? So that's something we've known for a while. We've been seeing consciously, subconsciously, but I would think you guys would agree with me that in the last 2 years or 3 years, it's wildly different from what we expected in the last 5 years, and certainly very different from 10 years, right? Trend number one. Trend number two, we've been talking about one-to-one personalization, getting to know the consumer, engaging with the consumer as an audience of one for decades now, right? And we've been making this 15-year-old technology that was, again, invented before MySpace do unnatural things to personalize. We actually are at that moment in time now where the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning is allowing you to personalize at scale. So how, in exchange, the consumer is starting to tell us, in exchange for digital breadcrumbs that I'm willing to leave out there, I expect a radically better consumer experience, right? So when I looked at the Kahuna opportunity and I looked at those two trends, there were very few categories of enterprise technology I felt that would see wildly massive disruption because of those intersections. And I absolutely believe we are right in the middle of it. And that's what got me super excited to leave, a fantastic run at SAP and take a big swing here.
Yeah, that was a big swing. I mean, no kidding aside, you're a big deal at SAP. I mean, you represented the brand really well. And again, you continue to have a massive following. And so it was a big move. In my opinion, it was an amazing move. 60 days into being a CEO, you wrote this beautiful blog about 6 lessons you learned about marketing automation. You talked about inventory is either expensive or perishable, so you can use advancements in data science to better manage inventory. You said consumer attention is even more perishable than inventory. You talked about AI, and you said you can't fake it, you can't sugarcoat it. AI is at the core, or you'll bust. You gave examples, and then you said, omni-channel consumer experience is unadulterated hogwash. And you said, as an industry, we have to earn our way to omni-channel customer experience. We're only getting started. So there was an amazing amount of insights just 60 days into a CEO. February 16th is your 6-month anniversary as the CEO.
Who's counting? Who's counting?
The top guy. Any lessons you want to share 4 months after this beautiful blog in terms of just being the top guy running a business, as well as technology?
Yeah, I think so. I think the thing that is most striking to me is, and I draw parallels to a topic that Vala, you and definitely Ray were part of when we talked about going back to social business and all these other concepts, right? The thing that always nagged me about those movements was that you feel that there wasn't really a true understanding or a respect, or we weren't really respecting the pace at which the consumer wanted to make these gigantic shifts we were talking about. So the promise of all these things were fantastic, but are we truly leveling with, letting in our case now with Kahuna, getting to a place where we can sit down with a brand marketer and say, I get in the press everything is about omni-channel and every consumer's mobile only and email's dead. No, the reality is you have cohorts of customers who are going to be, your certain customers who are going to say, I need 90% of my engagement on email and only 10% on mobile. You got others who are like, don't go there, like 95% is mobile. The others are going to be beacons and IoT and on and on and on and on. And so the thing that is most striking to me is the hubris sometimes in the market, right? About belittling the innate understanding of the brand marketeer of their audience and trying to be smarter than them versus respecting, a balance between wow me, blow my mind away with stuff that I can do out there, but can you talk about stuff I can do Kahuna is, we need to paint that future world where your brand, your consumers engaging with you through a chatbot, and then tomorrow a beacon at a conference. I mean, at a sports game, and on and on and on. But can you move the needle in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? Because guess what? The average tenure of a CMO is 18 months. So we need to be able to sort of, to me, the ones who will actually have meaningful impact will be those who can truly respect the pace at which the brand marketeer can move their ship, but secondly, the consumers as well, right? Because they're going to have cohorts, they're going to move at different paces. So I think, I'm not going to repeat that whole post. I think, I believe everything in the post. I haven't changed my mind about any of those things. But one of the core design ethoses that we have is, you have to separate the machine that captures gestures and events about every consumer to become smarter about them, but you have to be able to be agnostic to a cross-channel approach and let every consumer and every brand work with sets of consumers and gently move them through this purchase journey, right? And Ray, and we've talked about this a lot. I've written about other industries in the same vein, and I just see so many similarities. And I'm like, I know the playbook. We know the playbook. Let's not get caught up in the press. Let's just play the playbook, right? So we're having fun.
No, and what you're talking about here really ties back to this convergence that's happening, right? Of all these different channels, the intersections where mobile and IoT and big data play also drive better contextual information. And but I think what's interesting here is really the mobile plus, right?
Yeah.
We got Mobile World Congress next week. This is the pre-show to Mobile World Congress, trying to get what it looks like. What are you seeing out there in terms of trends that are going to change that behavior, change the way people engage? Are there other things about mobile that are happening in the sense of mobile being, not about the device, but about doing things in motion?
Yeah, I love that. So you stole my my comment there, right? Like, which is amazing. You're absolutely spot on. I actually think that we're now moving to mobile is not about the device; it's about the mobility of the individual. And when you move into that sort of mindset, or the design metaphor for mobile moves to, me consuming an email on a mobile browser is just as mobile as me doing something in an app. And you have to sort of just understand mobile is location, right? I mean, let's be honest. Like, if there's a single feature why Uber exists today, it's not the mobile app and digital, it is location. If location was not available on the phone, we wouldn't have what we have today, right? Yep. So, when you talk about location, you extend that to the fringes of mobile, and you talk about the signals that a hardware device in my pocket is sending out to me, right? About where I am, about whether it's Fitbit data, what have you. All from my perspective, I think when you talk about sort of like the second generation of thinking around mobile, the mistake I think we've sort of made subconsciously is that we've looked at mobile as a engagement device, or a way that I can do something. But actually, as our product manager, head of product at Kahuna, reminds me always that the real value in mobile is really the ability to ingest preferences and data and gestures that make you smarter about the consumer, right? So one of the things we pride ourselves about is, when you live in an email-centric world around engagement, the best I know about you is what did you click, what did you open, what did you not open, whatever, right? In mobile, I know, Vala has looked at those pair of shoes 4 times this week. It's freaking sitting in a shopping cart. Dude, like, clearly all he needs is free shipping, okay?
Exactly.
No, seriously, right? You're at a sports center, you know the beers you've had, right? And I think we're getting to a place where we have not effectively used these events, or the architectures have not existed behind these systems to use these events in ways where, you feel like because you've exposed that data to a given brand, the output can be 10x, and you're willing to do it, right? Up until now, the return that the brand gave the consumer was so crap, frankly, that we started worrying about privacy and, are you looking at too much of my data? But do you complain about the fact that you let Uber know wherever you are, or are you okay with that? You seem to be okay with that because they're giving you 10x value, right? So, Ray, I think to your point, it's sort of like 2 things. One is there's a shift from mobile, as in the app, to mobility, and that broadens the spectrum. Second is moving off the smartphone and also starting to understand the different edge devices that sit around that, right? And then the third, I think, about all of this is where mobile will truly be the killer app, and I don't think it is so far. I think it will truly be the killer app when we look at it as a ingestion device to get smarter about the consumer, and then you can sort of deal with them, in a more respectful way than sort of batch and blast, like we do today.
Oh, and then value exchange. So
right. Complete. Right? Does that make sense, guys? Like that's, I mean, that I see that framing the discussion, frankly, around mobile, where it'll become a channel of a larger tapestry. Email's not going away, and at the front end, beacons are coming, and IoT devices are coming, and all of that. And on the second hand, it'll be as much about what we learn through mobile as opposed to just looking at it as a way to keep blasting the user. And I think that's where this starts to become, far more practical.
So you mentioned beacons. So is this, Samir, a convergence of mobile technology, Internet of Things or connected devices, AI and big data, and you get this rich contextual information that can allow you to, as Ray and you have said in the past, create mass personalization at scale.
I absolutely, right. I think you've got essentially, the consumer engagement systems built 15 years ago, right, which were largely based on email, were sort of these monolithic systems of consumer profile data and one delivery channel, which is email, because it was better than a flyer in your mailbox, right? That was the sort of design paradigm, right? I think if you look at everything you said, Vala, right, like all, the convergence of those things, I think you've got sort of a two-part architecture to how you do this, right? If you have not got a core real-time event ingestion architecture sitting underneath all of this, that is actually saying whether the signal came from a beacon or from a mobile phone or from a chatbot, doesn't matter. I got one place where I'm continuously updating, right? So like in Kahuna, for example, within 5 seconds of you making a gesture, we can update your profile, 5 seconds. Wow. Not like 2 consultants have to come in or 5 consultants and it takes 48 hours. No, because if the brand says that if I don't put that free shipping offer in front of Vala in session, I'm done. That's the level of low latency that we have to sort of move in, right? So you have to be able to accept these events separately, then in one place, sorry, not separately. The second thing is everything else you said, which is a place where I engage with the consumer. Could be an IoT device, could be a beacon, could be a phone. Those are sort of sitting on top of this one central place where the customer data is. Because 10 years ago it wasn't dynamic, it was just email. Now, you got to get out of the business of building monolithic systems that say this is my IoT system and this is my beacon system or my mobile system. These have to be kind of decoupled so that a brand can say, 30% of my buyers, I think in the next 5 years, are going to want to engage only through chatbots. Is that part of your architecture? Or you got to go buy some other monolithic system?
That's amazing. My last question. I saw on Twitter yesterday all these references to Demand Fest. What is Demand Fest? I'm like, what's going on? I want to be there. It seemed like a bunch of smart people having a lot of fun, really going and really trying to think about putting a dent in the universe. So that was our evil genius plan, was to entice you to like it, so that when you get on the show on Friday, you say you want to come next year. So I do. It worked. Mission accomplished, right? So Demand Fest is a very, very, very interesting idea that Jeff Nolan, who's I think you know him, Ray definitely has known him for a decade. Old friend. Yeah. So Jeff and I, started talking about. Honestly, I'll spill the beans right now and give you this is how it came about real quickly. Jeff and I started talking about, he said, hey, my marketing team is coming in from Chicago. I would love for them to cross-pollinate with a Silicon Valley team. And my demand gen people are here, my content people are here, my product marketing is here, my SDR is here. And I said, we've got all 4 of those, bring them. Let's just do an afternoon. And they were like, you know what, let's open it up to a bunch of other companies. Right. And what it turned out to be was just practitioners sitting in there working through literally, small tactical things like how do I get, how does Vala go and get someone at Salesforce to come away from their day job and actually write a blog post about something because I think you think they're a subject matter expert. Like, what are the things on the ground every day that you're worrying about? How do you do lead scoring? What do you truly consider an MQL to an SQL? So you had an amazing set of people sitting in there doing the stuff. So we said, hey, let's just give it a name and let's make something out of it. And I mean, I hate to say this, but we truly had space constraints. So we had in our office, I must have turned away 25 companies. So guys, this is a first world problem.
Hey,
in your blog, you had a picture of this prime roast beef on a counter, and I'm like, why am I not there? Why am I not there?
I mean, food, marketing, tech, all in one place. Ross as well. At Ross was there.
And
DisrupTV show alum. I mean, this is awesome, man. So,
awesome.
Well, hey, Samir, we've got to go. We could do this for hours. We've done it for hours in the past. Samir Patel, CEO Kahuna at Samir Patel. You can follow him. And please come back, and we should all check out the Demand Fest food tweets. So thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me. Good luck, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, happy Friday. It's Friday. It's DisrupTV. That means it's Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for everyone for watching. So who do we have next, Vala?
So we have another foodie who is a mobility expert and more. We have Brian Katz, Director, EUC Mobility Strategy at VMware. He's responsible for setting strategy in mobile and helping to fit the different pieces of VMware's end user computing division together into an easily digestible solution for helping companies enable their users to be more productive, more agile, and secure and efficient. So again, a mobility expert, a user experience expert, computing expert. Brian came from Sanofi Pharmaceutical, where he most recently led the end user experience and innovation, and is, again, responsible for ensuring great user experience across apps, services, across the organization. So again, an experienced mobility technologist, a good guy. He's another must follow on Twitter at BMKatz with a K, BMKATZ. Welcome, Brian, to episode 50.
Thanks, Val. It's awesome to be here on episode 50. So this is, I guess, my second or third time on. So
you are
yes, you're alumni. He's a veteran.
First ballot Hall of Fame status, my friend.
I'm not sure about that. I think you and Ray are in that Hall of Fame.
I don't know. We don't get invited to stuff. We basically create our own awards. So
Nothing wrong with that.
So that's what we do these days. But hey, look. What's going on in the world of end user community? What's hot, right? We got mobile world coming. What's hot? What do you see? What's happening inside the enterprise that people need to know about?
Great question. And, it's fun to watch because as we look at end user computing, what we're seeing is, and I think it fits perfectly with what Samir was talking about, it's not just your phone. It's not just your tablet. It's really about you and how you compute, and it's where you can get things done when you need to and want to get them done. And enterprises are starting to actually say, it's not the PC anymore. People are bringing their own technology. People are doing their own thing. How do I enable them to get their work done when and where they need to, make them more efficient? And that's not just your phone, but how do I change processes? How do I actually look at how I, digital transformation, and you talk about that all the time, Ray. How do I actually digitally transform my business processes and reinvent them, reimagine them so that they can do them when and where they need to do them? And that's very different from doing it when you get back to your desk, using pen and paper. It's using new tools, IoT, everything else to get things done when and where.
So the individual at the center of the action, and how do we cater around those individuals? That's what you're talking about around end user computing mobility, not about the devices around them. The devices are secondary. It's what I'm doing, what the context is, and how do I interact with them.
100%, because it shouldn't matter whether they have a phone, a tablet, a laptop, whether it's a sensor, it doesn't matter. You use
seashell.
If that seashell's connected, absolutely.
It is. It's an IoT-enabled seashell with a little chip in here. Compliments of the NSA.
So when Samir was talking about beacons, he was talking about your seashells, huh?
Yes, he was.
So
you realize we're a movie quote here. We're now going to talk about the 3 seashells.
No, we're not going there.
So, Brian, today is Steve Jobs' 62nd year anniversary. He was born today, 1955. As you know, 10 years ago, he launched this guy here. And last quarter, they sold, 78.3 million of these, which equates to about 600 every minute. By the time we finished DisrupTV, Apple would have sold 40,000 iPhones. So it started to bring your own device revolution, consumerization of IT, and it's amazing how many things it's replaced in the last 10 years, including cameras and so on and so forth. Where do you see mobility going in the next few years? And what do you anticipate to see at Mobile World Congress that will give us a hint of the future of mobility? Because certainly the last 10 years has been amazing.
Well, yes, it has. And I think, sadly, I'm not going to MWC. I recently had some surgery to fix a hernia, so I actually have to stay home for this one. But, what we're going to, and I'll be watching from afar, but a lot of the talk that you're going to see is about 5G and LTE-A. And part of what that's LTE advanced. Part of what we're talking about is how do we get that signal to permeate everywhere and have it be high bandwidth? So how do we connect everything? When you start looking at IoT and everything that people are going to be using, how do we make sure that they're all connected? How do we get that signal out? How do we actually be able to find people where they are, get them the data they want? And whether it's the shop floor, whether it's their office, whether it's the soccer field, how do we do that? So we're going to see a lot of talk about that. We're going to see a lot of talk about.
Before you go on, this 5G promise is what? 40 times faster, 4 times more coverage. And you're going to get
it's all of that and more, and yet there are no standards. So
yeah, the standards are in the
So the best part is Verizon just announced that they're going to be piloting in 11 cities. AT&T is doing a bunch of cities, and yet we don't have radios in our phone that'll work with 5G. Yep. We don't have the standard set for another 2 or 3 years. Yet people are trialing it. So.
But this is the technology behind autonomous cars and the power of connected devices. And again, it's going to be so much faster, so much greater accessibility. And you think that's going to be a big topic at World Congress? I
mean, Val, think about this, because you spent a lot of time in Extreme Networks doing this, going to football stadiums and, other, baseball stadiums, et cetera, and wiring them up, because you go to a stadium and you'd have full signal. And you couldn't send a message, you couldn't read an email, you couldn't do anything because there was no bandwidth. Right. Everybody was trying to get stuff out. Now, imagine that stadium with 50,000 people. Now you're on a highway where 100,000 cars are passing that 1 mile in half an hour. How do all of those talk to each other, talk to the network, tell people their traffic and everything else? And that's where 5G comes in and says, here's how this all works. And so, that's going to be a big deal. Then you start looking at the other trend that we're going to see a lot of there, which is some AI and VR, so augmented reality and virtual reality. And how do we do that with just a phone or just a headset? Right. And I think that, when you're talking about the enterprise, you're going to see AR is going to take off, I think, faster than VR. VR is going to be great for training and some other things. But I think that when you start looking at the way Boeing and other people are using it, where they have people with smart glasses who are working on machines, can actually show what they're doing. They can look up repair manuals and yet see the stuff in front of them and actually do those comparisons in those pieces. That's where it becomes very, very interesting. So you're going to see a lot in AR, a lot in VR. Sure.
But let's go a little deep, right? The 5G standard, Brian, is it's the 3GPP standard that's going up. What does it mean, right? Is it done? Is it finalized? Have everybody agreed to it? Are they all working toward this 20 gigabyte speed limit? I mean, what's going on?
Not even close. So if you remember back when we started talking 4G, you go back about 4 or 5 years ago, everybody had phones that did 4G, and yet 4G wasn't finalized.
It was like 3.5, right? I mean,
So 5G is not finalized at all. There's the promise of it, which is faster than a gigabyte, which, you think about where you are right now, you can get 150 up and down on your cable modem or through Fios. Now we're talking about a gigabyte or better through the air. We're talking a lot more devices and all these other things, but right now they're still working on agreeing to it, ratifying it, building it. So you see, companies like Nokia, Huawei, and everybody else who are building equipment to do it, but I'd say we're talking probably 2020 till we have a standard.
So the International Telecommunications Union hasn't standardized this. We don't know what the power is going to be, what the rating is, but everyone's building towards this, because every year we go to Mobile World for the last 3 years, right? It's been the arrival of 5G is now here. I mean, we see those things, right? So I don't know if that was real or not. So
so and actually one of the competitive things against 5G right now is LTE-A, which is LTE Advanced. Yeah. And you actually have a couple phones and a couple devices that do have the proper antenna in them and can transmit and receive on LTE-A. So right now they're competing. 5G is going to win in the long run because the bandwidth is just so much greater than LTE-A. But speed-wise and all, you'll probably see LTE-A, take a small lead first, and then you'll see 5G come up. But you'll see all the carriers talking about it. And the big place we'll probably see it is Seoul, South Korea for the Olympics. That's usually when Seoul, very small, very self-contained, very easy for them to use that and do that sort of stuff.
Very wired. Awesome market.
Yes.
I know Ray is super excited about BlackBerry with their new phone with the hardware keyboard. And I guess there's rumors that Nokia might resurrect the 3310, which first came out in 2000, the cool blue square phone. So I know that's what Ray is super excited about.
Dude, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, well, can you see Ray with one of those?
Totally. I'm sure there's one in his office right now. But I know that, whether it's Huawei or Android Wear 2.0, there's going to be a lot of, I'm assuming, focus on watches, smart watches. And what are your thoughts about, technology and a greater adoption of checking those, what Forrester calls 220 average moments a day with at least US adult users, where a watch can eliminate the need for you to pull the smartphone out of your pocket. You can just simply look at the notification and move on.
So you've asked two different questions there, Val, and great questions with MWC. I think this year you're actually going to see fewer phones introduced. LG's got their G6, which they were already talking about. HTC has a new device that they've actually already introduced, but you'll be able to see en masse at Mobile World Congress. The new BlackBerry with their new partnership. So BlackBerry is not making the hardware anymore, but they have the new phone that's coming out. They've licensed that out. Yeah. Nokia is coming up with, we think, 3 devices, but you're not going to see a new Samsung phone. Obviously, you never see a new iPhone. Samsung's 8 is going to be at the end of March. You're seeing people who are moving their phones out of Mobile World Congress and trying to get, you'll see something from Motorola, actually. So, those will be the 5 big phones. You're going to see a couple watches. So LG just introduced 2 Android Wear watches. Huawei has committed to developing an Android Wear watch. But actually, Android Wear, a lot of people pulled out of the market because they weren't selling well. They've sold less than 500,000 with Android Wear 1. Android Wear 2 is just recently out. A lot of great improvements. Yeah. And, they've learned a lot from the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch is focused on fitness and the like. I think that we're going to see a lot of fitness devices. I don't know that we're going to see millions of devices. If you went last year, everybody had a smartwatch. Yeah. This year, everybody. A lot fewer smartwatches. But the promise of the smartwatch, of being able to get those notifications and not pull the phone out of your pocket, I think that over the next year, that's going to become more popular, especially with IoT and other sensors and other devices. And think of not just your wrist, but as glasses and all become more popular, you'll have AR here. So you'll see notifications here on your glass. Ray's showing his Apple Watch right now. I have my Apple Watch on right now.
I'll put it on, man. I stopped wearing watches. Oh, wait. Hey, Heather jumps in. Heather jumps in.
Not the watch. Oh, I feel like I'm left out. But you know what? I got 2 phones, so this is my.
Yeah, but Ray, for your 50th show, Ray should give you a watch, Vala.
Yeah. Do you think is Samsung going to reveal the S3 tablet with the keyboard? Is that?
They're going to reveal. We're expecting 2 tablets from Samsung. We're expecting the S3 with a new S Pen, and then we're expecting one similar to it that'll be a Windows-based tablet with an Intel chip.
I'm under NDA, so I can't say anything.
So I can't say anything. I'm not under NDA.
Poker face, but Brian, keep talking.
So I would expect that you'll see 2 tablets. Look, to be fair, the Android tablet market is a tough market because in most cases, what you're talking about is people are using them for TVs. You have some enterprises that are using them for productivity. But, the iPad is the thing to beat there because it does give you the integrated piece. And the Android apps really just don't work great on a lot of the tablets. Now, Chromebooks, I think you're going to see a bunch of those there. And, I think the other big thing for MWC is we're going to see a lot of voice. Just like with CES, Alexa is going to be everywhere. Definitely. And Samsung has, Samsung bought Viv. So they might talk about Viv there. Yeah. And Huawei's talking about creating an assistant. See, what you all can't see is I can see Ray's face right now. And
he's sweating. He's going to get a call from all those vendors
on his face.
I liked it when vendors didn't brief me because I could say whatever I liked. Once they brief me, I'm like, I'm under NDA. I'm like, this sucks.
I can't talk. I can talk about what I want.
Can't talk.
So, but I think everybody's going to have a voice device. Yeah. But the real question is, how does voice crack the enterprise? And I think that, there's a big difference between Alexa at home or
Yeah.
Cortana or Siri or Samsung's Viv or anybody else's, and what you do in the office.
It's all about unidirectional mics. Unidirectional mics.
Okay. So
Well, yeah, but everybody can hear you, and everybody can hear the reply. So when you say think of your manager says, "What's my next meeting?" And my next meeting is something with HR or something else. Everybody else can't hear that. And with the penchant for open offices, that's a problem. What are you doing in a conference room when there's 6 people?
Okay, so let's shift. Let's shift instead of geeking out on technology, which you and Ray and I can do for the next 2 hours. Well, let's talk about conversational commerce and this notion of voices UI and new business models that can emerge from combination of mobile technologies with chatbots and machine learning and natural language processing. Can I just talk to my virtual assistant and order my shoes, as Samir said, get my free shipping, thank everyone, and never have to type anything?
Yes, and I think this is a great way of tying what Samir was talking about together.
Yeah.
As we're willing to give up some of that privacy, but it's important that who we're giving it up to and what they do with it. So, for example, if I'm willing to let Amazon know that I wear this size shoe in this brand,
yeah,
I should be able.
Is now 10,000 commands in less than 2 years. They've gone from 1,000 to 10,000.
Yeah, but no, they're not all useful, Vala. Let's be fair here. So it's kind of like the first app for the iPhone was a fart app. They're not all they're not all the most useful thing, and you don't really need your Alexa to tell you when you're going to pass gas.
Flatulence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Isn't it true what Ray says? Privacy isn't dead; it's just for sale. You're going to give up some information about yourself, knowing that it'll be better personalized marketing and service delivery, and that's just it was Clay Christensen who said, "You may hate gravity, but gravity doesn't care."
Ray is 100% right and 100% scary from the perspective of, because you're giving up your privacy to everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody honors the same privacy control.
Sure.
And what that means is, although you've told somebody something, you think of all the apps that you let do things, and how many of them have we've discovered had no privacy policy whatsoever. And they're selling that data and doing other things, versus I expect Amazon to keep a lot of that data private because it's good for them. I expect Apple to do that. I expect Google sees me as a product. That doesn't mean they're selling my privacy, but they're using it to place ads and everything else, so they become the arbiter of that privacy.
Trust has to be at the core, no question.
But when a small company like Nike or somebody else, and I don't want to throw Nike under this, but whoever starts taking some of your privacy and some of he gained 10 pounds. Let me sell that to people, and all of a sudden I get things from diet things and this thing and that thing, and we're all foodies.
It's Marie Osmond again. Awesome. What's going on here?
Wow, Ray.
Anyways, I've been watching lots of late night TV. But hey, Brian, right? There's a point you were making earlier that was very interesting about tying where all this mobility and where Vala was talking about business models are coming into play. I mean, are we seeing new things pop up with smart cities and remote sensing, and what's happening with areas of Internet of Things that tie back? I know you hate the term Internet of Things. It's being, it's the wrong way to term this. But what do you see these new business models that are happening in the next? I'd say in the next 12 to 18 months.
Sure. So great thing you're talking about smart cities. What we're starting to see is, for example, putting smart light bulbs in. So it's not just putting LED lights in street lights, but being able to turn them on whenever they see motion. Being able to actually, connect to that garbage can, know when it's full, and say, come pick up the garbage can when it's full. Don't wait till Tuesday. Right. Get that smell out of the street, whatever. Be able to detect flooding, actually see traffic patterns and say there's a problem here. When a pothole gets reported, those sorts of things. Boston has an app, and Val, I think you may even be using this app, where if you have it on in your car, you can report a pothole, and that immediately goes, and they can go fill that within a day or two. Versus, and if you leave it on while you're driving, it will detect the potholes itself. And so there are a lot of pieces for smart cities, and the cities that are looking to not just save money, but actually improve how they deliver services. And that's where, when we talk about Internet of Everything, and that's Cisco's term, and it's not connecting thing, it's it's being able to abstract information out of what you're collecting, turn that into data, then knowledge, and then act on it. Because if you can't act on it, and hopefully in an automated way,
right?
What's the point?
Wow. This is great, man. You know, we're going to be watching Mobile World Congress very actively. Follow Brian Katz, Director of End User Computing, Mobile Strategy in the Office of the CTO at VMware. You can follow him at BM Katz. But more importantly, follow his tweets, follow his podcast. He's got one that talks at mobile and what's happening and all the changes. And of course, you always do a great Mobile World Congress preview, review, and while you're even there when you get out there. So this is awesome. Thanks a lot, Brian. Come back again. Happy Friday.
Absolutely. I want to be here for the 100th.
Yeah, I think you'll get in there before that, so you'll be
fine. Yeah, we're not going to wait.
We're not wait that long for you. So, wow. Okay, so we got a little bit of a Mobile World preview. We got some ideas of what's happening in marketing in the enterprise, what's going on with marketing and IoT. But I don't know, man. Do you think our appliance repairman might actually show up on time? Who do we have here, Vala?
We now truly have a first ballot Hall of Fame DisrupTV inductee. Multiple appearances on our show. We're really proud and honored to have Heather Clancy, contributed to Fortune and Green Biz. Heather's articles have appeared in Entrepreneur, Fortune, International Herald Tribune, New York Times. She's a senior writer for greenbiz.com, editor of Fortune Data Sheet. Awesome recap of everything you need to know in technology, a daily dose of enterprise technology news. And you can follow Heather on Twitter at GreenTechLady, GreenTechlady. Welcome to 50th episode of DisrupTV, Heather.
Hello. First of all, my watch. Second of all, third time.
That's awesome.
We'll get you a commemorative seashell.
Ray, we got to put together a DisrupTV award for most appearances and best most awesome guests.
Hey, so can I piggyback on some stuff that's already been said first?
Yeah, jump in.
Yeah. So I was loving I really appreciate the 5G discussion that we just had, because I was trying to sort through and my hometown is one of those 11, Bernardsville, New Jersey, which you're like, where is that?
AT&T land.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's one of the test sites. But if you notice, both Intel and Qualcomm this week came out with chips designed to take the existing 4G networks a little bit farther, right? So they're trying to juice out the speeds that they can. So that's another indicator that this could be a little bit longer than I think we expect. If those two companies are both focusing on that, in the next generation of their handsets, that sort of strikes me as an indicator that, we'll be waiting a little bit.
Yeah.
I also love the comment about glasses and augmented reality. And I just wanted to point out that Snap greatly expanded the distribution of their spectacles this week. So that I just wanted to remind the viewers about that. I haven't quite figured out if I want the turquoise or another color yet, but anyway, so I was looking at them thinking, do I want these things? I might actually have to get them to try them out. So anyway. Just
was anybody at Snapchat, please send Heather a pair, and Vala and I would be happy to take some. That would be great.
I'll even take pictures of me wearing them. No, I'm kidding. I think for them, I think the cool thing is that, you got to experiment. We don't know what's going to happen with them, but they do need to expand the distribution so that people can play around and figure out where people are going to freak out, the privacy implications and so forth. I mean, anyway, so
we'll be hanging out at nightclubs in New York City.
So appliances, right?
so
we're gonna jump. Yeah.
But what's interesting too, I just remind people what the other what are the other 11 cities are. There were Ann Arbor, Michigan, Atlanta, Brockton,
Denver?
Massachusetts, Dallas, Houston, Miami, Sacramento, Seattle, and Washington, D.C., where they're doing the rollout on 5G. So that's pretty exciting. That's there. But hey, there was something you wrote that I kind of was doing the lead in, which was why your appliance repairman might finally be on time. What? How did you put all that together?
All right.
That was like a convergence article. Right? That was like bringing together like IoT, scheduling, mobility. Right. It was putting everything together about new business models that these guys are actually going to be on time within my not 8-hour window, not 4-hour window, but a 2-hour window.
So that article was inspired by GE's acquisition of ServiceMax, right? They paid almost $1 billion for this company. The deal closed in January, and you're like, okay, GE is buying a company that makes mobile apps for field service technicians. Okay, that market's been around for quite a while. I mean, people have been trying to automate field services for a while, and it just didn't go places for a number of reasons why the devices were too expensive. It was all focused on just, you know, kind of like pushing stuff out, and it just wasn't really working. But now this particular acquisition really points to the future, which is that they're going to use the information that's being generated by the Internet of Things to inform these apps, right? So before my guy shows up here to fix my stove, he's going to know that I am missing the igniter on this one burner, and that's why it's not working. And he might have that part, you know, he's more likely to have that part with him now. If that's a very simple home-oriented example, but if you think about these massive, you know, we think of field service technicians, and automatically we think of the appliance guy, the refrigerator or stove guy. But when you're talking about these huge companies that have wind turbines or other big massive pieces of equipment, when someone gets sent out to fix that and they don't have the right part, think about the implications of that. Like the amount of time that thing's out of service. By the way, P.S. could you have predicted before it died that it was going to die and get someone out there before it happened? So you know, this article really points to the future of field services, which is this predictive information is now informing and speaking up for what's going on. These machines are talking to the field service guys, and they're predicting and saying, help me before I really break. Yeah. So.
And you wrote in the article that the demand or interest in field service apps and data services is a 5 billion plus market by 2020. So there's definitely an efficiency, and more importantly, delighting your customers. Imagine having somebody understand in advance before you actually experience the pain point that there's a defective part, and you're there to make sure there's continuous service. In some industries, that's critical to their business model, being always available. And we talked with Samir about infrastructure, and I was in that space. So predictive, more offensive mindset in terms of service delivery versus waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder is huge.
It also turns them into a brand ambassador, right? So if that person is more personal, can really speak to the needs of that customer in a very specific way, it makes that person think, wow, you know, they really care about me. They know so much about me. You know, the scary side is the whole data thing. Like they know so much about me, you know, like what I'm eating and how often I open the refrigerator. But anyway.
Absolutely. Well, Brian already noted that I've gained 10 pounds in his analogy. So yeah, that's not personal information. But I'm going to draw the same analogy in another piece that you wrote, where you talked about performance reviews.
Yeah.
And you said that 80% of large companies, including Accenture, GE, Goldman Sachs, IBM, Morgan Stanley, they're thinking about re-architecting their annual performance reviews in that same spirit of providing constant feedback, proactive feedback. We've had other practitioners in the HR space come and talk to us about a shift in this movement away from annual performance reviews. I think of it as like having a proper diet and exercising one day a year and hoping you're fit. I don't see how that works. So can you tell us a little bit about this new model of performance management that's more continuous in nature?
So I think it's pretty clear that the annual thing won't ever probably fully go away. I mean, it's just people tie compensation to it. They sit down, they have this sort of long conversation, and I think that the statistic was preparing for that takes like 8 to 10 hours of a manager's time. So imagine if you have a staff of 10 direct reports, you know, how much time that's going to be taking. The idea is that you're able to use these tools to sort of get a regular pulse, and it goes both ways, right? So a manager might be able to have to direct someone on in a week, you know, every week be able to say, hey, this is the one thing you really did great this week, and give like sort of instant feedback. Maybe it's just like something they do every Friday, but it's just sort of an annual. It's a regular check-in. It's not, you know, it keeps it top of mind. The same token, it's also a great a way for managers to get sort of the pulse of a team. By the way, this could be the team within peer to a peer, like, hey, that was so helpful. The way you manage this particular thing, let's try to use this as a model for future collaboration. Or, hey, is there a way we can get this into the design process all the time? It's sort of, so it gives people sort of a more real-time expectation of what they do, what works, what doesn't work. And so it kind of lets you course correct more quickly. So that's the intention. And so it changes that, doing that changes that annual thing to a little bit of a different, sort of more of a strategic discussion. So in a way, it's not necessarily replacing that, but it's making it a different kind of conversation.
We had Anil Bushri, CEO of Workday, on our show a few months ago, and he talked about artificial intelligence and how this machine learning augmented intelligence is guiding managers to better understand and advance talent that might be a flight risk. It's helping them create their restructuring lists in terms of identifying potential low performers. So it's amazing how CHROs are leaning into technology more and more to be active managing their staff. Yeah,
Workday has actually, along that same line, they actually also have a learning product, right? So they have and they're able to see, okay, this manager this person got promoted. They're able to take the information about the sort of classes that person took, what's successful, what's helping them, and sort of recommend, is in the line of recommending things. So recommending this course to someone who got promoted. Hey, you just now are in this role and you have no idea how to talk to someone as a manager. Your peer had the same situation 6 months ago. They did really well by this, and they can use that information that way as well. It helps people advance in their careers.
That's awesome. Ray, you're on mute.
Ray,
Yeah, we got a question.
Hey, we have to figure. Can we have a mute button for Ray?
I think
we got a question from Twitter from Paul Baldridge, and he's basically saying, "Hey, is the Magic Leap ready? Anyone? What's going on with the augmented reality device? Anyone know?" So.
Oh, it wasn't funny. They put that prototype. Was it business
test rig, or is it a test rig?
No, it was for collecting information. So the idea is you probably have it's like the developer version, right? You have to collect all this data, mash it into the system in order to get it to come out, like the models to create the images. So I think that's what they were saying it was. But that was interesting. Yeah, there's been a lot of debunking of them.
$1.4 billion into Magic Leap, right? So everyone's wondering what's really going on with is this virtual reality going to work? Is it not? And so it's mass market VR, and I think people are just asking. So
that's really augmented reality, right? They're kind of pitching it as it's
more AR from our point of view than VR, but yeah.
I don't have any. I wish I had insight into Magic Leap, because then I would probably be a lot richer than I am, but I don't. Maybe not. Maybe I would be out a lot of money. But I mean, I think what it does show is that people are getting restless. They want to see what's going on. They want this thing already.
Well, no, the investors are getting restless too, definitely, and we're definitely seeing that in the place. So what's going on? Mobile World Congress happening. What are you covering? What angles are important for you? What are you looking for this year, versus last year? I mean, it's the big mobile show, but there's very few carriers that are actually announcing phones there. There's very few. It seems like weird. Is the show on decline? Let's start there.
No. So here's the thing I think that's happening, and Brian already went over the devices, right, that are being announced, and the things that aren't being announced. Because Samsung, I mean, the whole Samsung situation is. There's so many different reasons they're not there this year, I think. But, one of the things that they had said that they were going to do is really test the batteries, right? And that's part of the reason that they're trying to delay things on their device. But to go back to what's happening, I think what on the carrier side, what you're going to hear a lot more about is the services that they are introducing in order to accommodate the things rather than the phones. Right, so you see Verizon and AT&T and pretty much any national carrier from any country in Europe, in Asia, they're announcing services that will help with the management of these devices, the cars, the the machines and so forth that are being put onto the internet. What do those services cost? What data requirements are there? Where is the stuff stored? Where is that data going to be stored? If you're in Europe, the privacy laws require that you have it in country, right? So I think that you'll hear a lot, and I have specific knowledge that I can't share because I was briefed.
Darn, you
Darn!
too.
But
Okay. Let me say things I can say that I weren't briefed on.
I shouldn't have taken that one. But in any event,
let me fill in on stuff you can't talk about then. But there are certain things that the monitoring services and data residency and data privacy services are actually going to be a really big business, because people who are brokering those insights have to follow new European privacy laws, which they're gearing up for, and they're also trying to work on how to monetize those services in countries that don't have to, and so there's some interesting announcements that may or may not happen.
Hey, to the point about data collection and privacy, and I didn't know this, maybe this is just my naivete, because I haven't, where I live, Uber isn't that ubiquitous yet. It's just kind of, I'm in a suburban area. But I was riding around with them quite a bit last week while I was in Phoenix, and I had the conversation with one of my drivers, and she said, oh, I can't, she was complaining because the previous passenger had wanted her to speed. And she couldn't, because the app would have tracked that. But then I got to thinking, and then of course it knew when she was braking, it knew how she changed lanes. And then I just realized, oh my goodness, well, so of course, they're doing this to rate drivers, but of course the other thing they're doing this for is to understand how a car performs for their self-driving car project. Right. Yeah. So how do you automate? How should a car behave in these circumstances? And I just kind of was sitting there in the back seat going, wow, you're helping them, make you virtuous. But I mean,
you're eliminating your own job with your own data.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But
no. Tesla's doing the same.
Yeah.
Every time you buy Tesla, they take all the road data. Yeah. They have all the information. They know when you opened the door. They know how many times you've been at the 7-Eleven if they really wanted to. It's anonymized, right? But if they really wanted to, I'm sure they could track it.
And it's kind of positioned as a way to manage your relationship, but really it's going to inform those services in the future. So.
Just not my insurance carrier.
So right. It was interesting. It was I'm trying to remember the insurance guy, ISAA. Did you notice that Lyft? They announced a relationship with I don't know which, with a large insurer. Let's just say it that way, to help drivers that like, for example, say you have an accident and you need body work done, you got to take your car out of commission. It connects you with Lyft drivers to help you.
Oh, got it. Wow, that's awesome.
Great. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So my car,
like rental car credit you'd get that can get you half a rental car.
Right. So I mean, it was like
CSAA.
Wow.
It's CSAA.
But I think that's what you'll hear a lot out of the carriers, right?
They did it with AAA.
Was it
California?
Okay. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean that's kind of what I'm waiting for, and I'm hearing a lot more about management of services that are coming out to support that, and that's all I'll say because I'm
sure.
You're under NDA too.
No. Yeah.
We had the former, existing, but we had Keith Crotch of DocuSign on our show. He was one of my favorite guests. He talked about building companies to last. He gave leadership lessons. It was one of my.
Awesome.
It was one of my most popular Huffington Post articles. Was just recapping his wisdom. So I'm a big fan. But there is a new CEO coming in. You have any? You want to share with us with the new CEO who will start shortly?
It's like Springer.
Yeah, so this guy, good background. His previous company got bought by Oracle, so he's got experience with big companies, right? He understands how to do this at scale. I haven't had the opportunity to really speak with him yet, but what do I think? Well, I don't know did you notice this week their new payment service?
Yeah.
So I think what you'll see is a a lot of I don't think he's going to. I don't think much is going to change about their core mission. You will see them continue to transform from the sort of, people still think of them as the document signature, the electronic signature company. You're going to continue to see maybe a speedier evolution towards the digital transaction management model that they've been talking about. So so it's not enough to automate this process, say a contract negotiation and approvals and so forth. Now at the end, I might have, through this new relationship with that DocuSign just announced this week with Stripe, you can actually start to make the money happen too. So that contract got negotiated. Now the payments associated with that contract could be enabled. And so that was something that struck me this week is, and I'm sure they were working on this long before the new CEO, but you're going to see a focus on that. And I don't think like I said, I think you'll see an acceleration of the good things that they already had in place. And, not much will be changing of the mission. He made it very clear that he wasn't going to mess around with Heath's legacy there.
Well, he's got an IPO to get out there, and anytime we take identity and you match it with payments, you have the foundation of commerce, right? You look at Adobe and EchoSign. I mean, if they would just get into commerce, they could take 900 million PDF users on EchoSign. Think about that. Overnight, you suddenly have identity, and you transact with that against commerce or payments. You're in, and so that's going to be the battle on the B2C consumer side for quite some time. At least that's what we're saying. But Heather, we can talk. Heather, we can talk about this for hours, but we're running out of time. So we're going to have you back, of course. Everyone, Heather Clancy, contributor Forbes and GreenBiz, and more importantly, you can follow her at Green Tech Ladies. She covers the latest interesting trends from both a business and societal perspective. This is definitely awesome. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Definite first ballot Hall of Famer, no question. So if you ever do a DisrupTV gathering, first on the list for sure.
We'll do a DisrupTV barbecue at my house. I think we're going to have to do one of these. So,
130 guests, Ray, with 50 shows. By the time we finish calendar year this year, we're going to be, well into 200 guests. So extraordinary group of thought leaders come spend.
And it's not just the number of guests, man. These have been great people. I mean, we've had a fun time, and it's Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern.
Just expanding on that. Next week, we have John Gallant, Senior Vice President, Chief Content Officer for IDG, the largest tech publication in the world. So he's our guest. We have Paul Doherty, the Chief Technology Officer for a little company called Accenture.
And Innovation Officer. He's got a new title, too. I think
awesome. And then, they did their Tech Vision report, an amazing annual report, and he's going to talk to us about that. And we've got another, small subject matter.
Small curmudgeon, I think.
Esteban Kolsky, cleanup hitter for episode 51. He's the founder of ThinkJar, former Gartner analyst, and another big brainiac who's going to be on our show. So again, just to revalidate what you just said, Ray, amazing people come and spend Fridays on DisrupTV.
Thanks for being here for our 50th and hopefully 50 more. So, hey, Vala, awesome. Have a good day.
You as well. See you. Bye-bye, everyone.